Hey there, my friend. Welcome to this explainer. Look, I've got to make a bit of a confession right out of the gate. A few years ago, I was totally that guy. Buying up all the meme stocks, chasing every ounce of hype on social media, and basically diamond handing my way right into a completely avoidable, pretty embarrassing loss. I was sitting on my couch, convinced I could outsmart Wall Street. And well, spoiler alert, Wall Street won. Big time. But hey, I learned my lesson the hard way, and I'm here to save you from making those exact same mistakes. Today, we're diving into the ultimate lazy roadmap for investing your first $1,000 in 2026.
So, let me ask you a serious question. Is your cash just kind of rotting away in a traditional bank account right now? Because if it is, you're probably earning what I like to call gummy bear interest. You know exactly what I mean, right? It looks super sweet, it sounds fun in theory, but when you actually look at the nutritional value, or in our case, the financial value, it's practically invisible. It's doing absolutely nothing to fuel your future.
Okay, let's dive into the core issue here, because there's a specific percentage out there that is literally eating your cash for breakfast. As of April 2026, the core CPI inflation rate is sitting at 2.8%. And just to clarify, that tracks the rising costs of things you actually buy every day, minus the super volatile stuff like food and energy. So, what does this all mean? It means if your money is just sitting stuffed under a mattress or chilling in a standard checking account, it is mathematically losing its purchasing power every single day. All right, so how do we fix this without making it a full-time job? That brings us to our strategy, the 80-20 lazy split, where we focus on pure efficiency over frantic activity.
Now, when I say lazy, I definitely don't mean being unproductive. Think of it like a really efficient gym routine, or 3 solid compound lifts completely outperform spending an hour wandering between 50 weird machines. Here's what that highly efficient routine looks like for your portfolio. We are putting 80% of our $1,000 into the total US market using an ETF like VTI. That right there, that's your solid, unshakable core. Then we take that remaining 20% and we drop it into tech growth using QQQM, and that gives us a nice spicy tilt toward technological innovation.
So let's look a bit closer at these two funds. I like to call them the two haystacks, and you'll see why in just a second. I'm going to lean into a classic dad joke yard work analogy here, so bear with me. Trying to pick the next Apple or Nvidia is basically like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It is insanely stressful, and let's be real, you'll probably just end up poking yourself in the eye. Instead, our lazy strategy says, why not just buy the whole darn haystack? VTI is our whole haystack, owning roughly 3,700 United States companies. Meanwhile, QQQM is what I call the electric haystack. It tracks the top 100 non-financial innovators on the NASDAQ, leaning heavily into the tech and healthcare sectors. And you really need to look at the sheer power of that electric haystack over time. When we pull the historical data from 2007 all the way to early 2026, the S&P 500 returned a massive 10.6% annualized. But the NASDAQ 100, our electric haystack, absolutely crushed it with a 15.4% annualized return. Now keep in mind that higher return definitely comes with some bumpier rides along the way, but that is exactly why we only allocate 20% of our money to it. It keeps everything balanced. Now, we can't talk about building wealth without talking about protecting it. We need to slay some silent wealth vampires so you actually keep your own money. See, before we just throw our $1,000 around, we have to protect your stash from unseen threats. I'm talking about those invisible leaks that just sup the lifeblood right out of your long-term gains. And the granddaddy of all silent wealth vampires, that's the expense ratio. Simply put, this is the annual fee charged by the folks who actually run the ETF. It sounds totally harmless on paper, right? But over 20 years, a high expense ratio will feast on your compound interest like a hungry vampire at a blood bank. Comparing these fees really highlights why our 80-20 split is so incredibly efficient. Look at VTI. It has a microscopic expense ratio of just 0.03%. I mean, that is practically free. QQM charges 0.15%. So yeah, it's slightly higher to manage that concentrated bundle of innovation, but it is vastly superior to the older legacy QQQ fund, which charges 0.2% for the exact same exposure. The goal here is simple. You are keeping your own money. All right, let's move on and see how this builds in the real world. It's time to grab your 2026 bonuses, which are essentially free EXP points for your portfolio.
Let's turn this into an actual, actionable plan that you can execute while you're just sitting there waiting for your morning coffee to brew. We're going to strategically grab the best 2026 sign-up bonuses. Think of these as free XP points for leveling up your finances. Here is your foolproof 3-step lazy system. Step 1, open an account on a modern platform. Step 2, deposit your funds, even if it's just $10 to start. And step 3, set up auto invest. That way you're buying your 80-20 split every single month without even having to think about it.
And seriously, check out the EXP points you can score in 2026 just for showing up. Robinhood, for instance, is currently giving away a free stock valued anywhere from $5 to $200 when you deposit just $10. Fidelity is offering a 3.28% yield on your uninvested cash, plus they have zero-fee mutual funds. Or there's SoFi, offering up to a 4.00% APY on their savings account if you set up direct deposit, not to mention some massive referral bonuses. Guys, it is literally free money to kickstart your journey. So what happens when you put this all together? Let's talk about the 20-year-long game and the absolute magic of doing, well, nothing. All right, let's bring it all home and look at the terminal value of this lazy yard work. Remember my whole meme stock trauma from earlier? Yeah. Back then, I was checking my phone like 400 times a day, panicking over every little dip. So the crucial point I want you to remember is this: passive patience mathematically beats active anxiety. Let's look at exactly what a single $1,000 investment projects to become over 10 years, adjusted for that pesky 3% inflation we talked about earlier. If we look at the historical data for the big Haystack, funds like VOO or VTI, a single $1,000 investment mathematically projects to turn into $2,038 in real, inflation-adjusted value over a 10-year harvest period. Think about that. You literally doubled your purchasing power just by taking a nap and letting the market work for you. But wait, let's contrast that with the 20% we put into the electric Haystack, QQQM. Because of its historical 15.4% annualized return, that exact same $1,000 historically projects to over $3,100 in real value over 10 years. Now, just let that math sink in for a second and imagine it stretching over a 20-year horizon, especially when you're consistently adding to it every month with your auto invest. The compounding effect is absolutely staggering. My friend, it is time to put the phone down, totally ignore the hype, and let the broader market do all the heavy lifting for you. As the saying goes, stop window shopping for the next big thing and start owning everything. Your future self will thank you. Get out there, set up your auto invest, and I will be right there cheering for you at the finish line. So let me leave you with this one last question. Are you going to keep stressing out trying to find that one impossible needle, or are you finally ready to just buy the haystack?